Oh man, thanks for giving me the time,
Of
dude.
course, yeah, man. Subscribe to the 28 House.
I got new business cards now with our logo and everything.
Nice.
Nope, that's not it. Where is it? There we go. Bam.
There we go. Yeah, subscribe, drop a like, leave a comment, whatever.
Even if you don't, we're still gonna keep doing it. So. All right, once again, I'm Spazo, and this is the 28 House. Animated as usual at another convention at Fan Days. The best part about Fan Days over the anime conventions I have been attending, is that it's not under a repressive Texas sun. It's actually a pretty decent temperature out here. And I brought with me a new sign with which to debate, maybe not as challenging as the ones I've used in the past, but I need to express the superiority of Spider-Man villains over Batman villains. I famously find much of Batman's property overrated, although fun, but the villain quality is often ranked as one of Batman's greatest strengths. Yet I believe that as a whole and individually, the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery is superior to that of Batman's. They have more dynamic personalities, they have more relatable motivations, and frankly, they're a lot better in a fight. There's a lot of things I want to do here today. I am, late, as always, because I forgot my tripod at home, so I had to head over back and get it. Good thing, too, because I'm going solo today. Being late is awesome, because the Irving Convention Center, while it's the venue I attend the most, is also one of my least favorites. The parking situation is horrible. And though it looks like it's going to rain like it often does when I attend a convention, that's really kind of cheating this time, because it's been raining nonstop for the last 2 months. So that's rain is a given at this point. As far as the sign goes, I decided to use stickers instead of, just painting it on. This sign is not going to make it through the day. These letters are going to fall off. This thing is going to get destroyed. But I'm going to make it through the whole day. I am built for this. And I got spare letters. So as it falls apart, I'm ready to build it right back up, because the message is just too important. And already, can't see it. Already we've got 12 agrees to just 2 disagrees. So it's looking pretty good so far. That being said, I imagine I'm going to run into a lot of Harley Quinns, a lot of Jokers, maybe even a Two-Face or two, who might just disagree with this statement. And if they do, we do what we always do. We record the data, and we always have fun. And let's have fun. Villains are running away with this one. So
it's all lies. It's all fake news at this point. So here's the thing. There's no Spider-Man villain that could take on the Joker, including Norman Osborn. I think if you went toe-to-toe and put every Spider-Man villain up against the Joker, and who takes the city and kills the hero of battle, Joker wins. Joker's only problem is that he can't kill Batman. Spider-Man is not Batman, and he will murder that kid within a shadow of a doubt. He will torture Aunt May, get Mary Jane, she'll tell him who Spider-Man is, and that'll be the end of it. And all Spider-Man villains could do this, but they don't. Doc Ock is the greatest villain, in my opinion, in the Spider-Man universe written so far. But even him, I would still say that due to the ingenuity of the Joker to beat even the most technical person, because he's able to beat Batman, who is also a genius, creator, who has a lot of the same capabilities as Ock, he still consistently undermines Batman every step of the way. And I mean, if you could beat Batman, who's the good guy, you'll pretty much be able to take on all the bad guys and win.
Batman villains, cooler costumes, they get straight to the point. They look cool on camera. They don't have issues with girlfriends, okay? And Spider-Man, I know, you gotta wear tights, come on. All the time, no. No, my guys are no guys.
Plus, Batman has the Penguin.
Yes, and the villains are just cooler looking. My opinion, cooler looking.
That's very important.
Under the bad lighting, we got to disagree. Tell me why the Batman villains are superior.
Okay, the reason why
you can hold the mic if you want.
The reason why the Batman villains are superior is, I can already see people getting ready to disagree. The reason why is because there's more villains with, in my opinion, better backstories. And if you go back to original versus original, because a lot of times people like to break it down to comics.
Yep.
if you go into the original comics and the original series, the Batman villains, I see more people being Batman villains at these conventions for a reason than Spider-Man villains. I've never seen a Green Goblin, I've seen one Venom, but I've seen so many Jokers, so many Two-Faces, Riddlers, Black Masks, everything. And there's just more. Yeah.
As a former cosplayer, I'm going to go ahead and say that the reason there are fewer Spider-Man villains at conventions is because the costumes are significantly harder to make.
What's superior? I believe that Batman villains are superior to Spider-Man villains because, one, they are much crazier, which means they have more incentive to, destroy things. Like the Spider-Man villains, they're cool, but they have crazy powers, and the way they get them sometimes is very confusing. Batman's villains, they're mostly just crazy people with no said powers. They just want to go and watch the world burn, such as the Joker or the Mad Hatter. And I find that personally more intriguing, like a person, just a regular person, who has lost their mind because whether it be loss, whether it be traumatizing events, they want to change the world, and what they see is correct. However, it is not correct to the rest of us, because in their own minds, they think they are right, and they're just absolutely crazy. And that's personally why I think Batman villains are superior to Spider-Man villains.
So, if I heard all that correctly, you said that the Joker would find out who Spider-Man is and kill Mary Jane.
For sure.
So how come he never did that with Batman? Why didn't he go
Batman
after?
doesn't have girlfriends.
Well, why didn't he go after Bruce Wayne?
He went after the closest things to Bruce Wayne because he won't kill Bruce Wayne. It destroys the whole purpose. He needs Bruce Wayne to kill somebody to prove the point that everyone can be just like the Joker. He did go after Jason Todd, which is a clear example of that he will go after people closest in Bruce Wayne's life, but after that didn't break Batman, he's like, I'm not going to waste the time killing the rest of your family. It's not going to do anything to you. You'll still keep coming after me. I need you to kill me or kill someone to prove the point that everyone's just like me. And if I can kill one of your own sons and you don't do anything about it, well, then I got to think of something else. You don't have girlfriends. I've taken over Wayne Enterprises numerous of times. I've destroyed the city and nothing. We've got Year Zero. You didn't touch me there. And it's like, Joker's just untouchable. He's the best villain that's probably ever been written so far. He is the literal embodiment of anarchy and chaos. And I mean, he could kill Superman. Hell, he beat Superman on a moral situation in the Injustice universe. So it's like, Joker might be the greatest villain ever, the most uncorruptible character he beat.
So I got a 2-day pass, and I'm headed out. The day is over on day 1, and I gotta say that after going to anime conventions for the middle of the year, where the show just goes on forever and never slows down, going midnight and beyond. Man, it just kind of feels like this ended really, really quickly. It's like before you know it, it's 6 o'clock. Everyone's having the costume contest. They're shutting down the dealer's room, and everybody's heading home. Large Dragon Ball Z presence at this convention. They had the biggest booth I have ever seen on the dealer's floor, at least at this venue, or honestly in Dallas or DFW. I mean, that's the kind of booth you would see at like New York Comic Con or something. Man, the Agrees took the stage and just took over right away. Before I was even in the door, I had like 9 Agrees. Well, the Disagrees really started to jump up. I was surprised. A lot of people dressed as Batman villains went with Agree. I don't know if they're just trying to be ironic or what, but the Irving Convention Center, I mean, this is the venue I've gone to more conventions at than any other venue, sorry. And it never ceases to amaze me just how poorly that place was designed. It has no good flow for conventions. There's nothing you can do to make it better. And now that they've developed all of the open space around the building, all of a sudden there's nowhere to park anymore. People used to park right on the grass across the street. Now it's all a pavilion of trendy restaurants and the Toyota Music Factory, which is fine because it gives me an opportunity to travel from the convention to my car, and all of the non-convention going people are getting a chance to laugh at my sign as well, and that's fun. That's fun. The laughs are always fun. One thing I can say is that they are currently constructing a very large hotel right across the street, and my only hope is that when that hotel is completed, that perhaps some of the space can be afforded, just like other conventions do. Whenever conventions run near hotels or in hotels, very often they, book several of the conference rooms to host events as well. And while they were not included in a video, there was one comment, an argument, if you will, that was I had no counter for. In fact, I was taken aback because as I equate superior villains, I am generally referring to the fact that they are superior characters, more entertaining, more dynamic. Well, one dynamic feature of interesting characters is that they can be funny. And one person came up to me and said, Batman villains are funnier than Spider-Man villains. And I said, well, surely, no, I can't, that's true. I couldn't think of a Spider-Man villain who was funnier than any Batman villain. Now, give it some thought, I gotta say, it's hard to be funny when you're going up against Spider-Man, who was the original funny superhero. Before Deadpool was breaking the fourth wall, and Ambush Bug, that's an obscure character for the DC fans out there, was bringing comedy to comics. Spider-Man was one of the first heroes. Instead of just monologuing about truth and justice and stopping bad guys, all this other stuff, Spider-Man was throwing jokes out, rapid fire, at every adversary he faced. It is one of Spider-Man's most defining characteristics, the comedy. He had it before anybody else did. And perhaps going up against a hero known for being funny, you really can't bring a villain who's supposedly funnier than them, It's not Saturday Night at the Improv. It's a superhero fight. And to be a foil to Spider-Man, then perhaps humor isn't going to be one of your weapons against somebody who uses humor as a weapon so effectively like Spider-Man does.
All right, well, I'm Nightwing, as you can tell. Anyways, no, Batman villains are better than Spider-Man villains. All right, first off, the only character that Batman's villains has ripped off, I think, was the Lizard. Every other character was created by Batman, like Sandman, Clayface, Green Goblin and Joker are pretty much the same. The only difference is that Green Goblin is more techie and stuff. But the characters are more, Batman's characters are more you can like them, you know them, you know who they are. I did not know it was half the villains until I played that, the Spider-Man PS4 game. So yeah, you know all the characters. Even if you're not a comic book fan, you know all the Batman characters. I love Spider-Man, but he's got nothing on the villains. All
right, this is Logan here saying that Spider-Man villains definitely are superior to Batman villains because they have an actual pathos and purpose instead of just a bunch of crazy psychopaths that are around doing evil just because they're evil or whatever.
That's exactly what I said. Something like that. Anyway, yeah, go ahead. You believe Batman villains are superior? Fill me in.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess the question is, the statement is Spider-Man villains are superior to Batman villains. How do I put this? I'm just gonna say it. Stiltman.
Let me go for it. So you say that the Batman characters are more popular, and that's why they're better?
Well, their stories are better. For example, Killer Croc. His story. He's got that disease, that skin disease, and he's been humiliated. No one likes him, stuff like that. So he became a villain. Became Killer Croc, and then you have Scarecrow, who's a psychiatrist, and you use that for fear and all that stuff. Joker, he's a little bit overrated. I'll give you that. He's a little too much. People like him too much for my liking, but his story, it's pretty sad. But that's just Joker's character, man. It's cool, Yeah.
I'd say it's a very convincing argument. That is a really good argument. I believe, though, that Stiltman is an Iron Man villain.
It's a crossover villain.
Crossover, yeah, just like Beetle, who is a really great villain, superior to the Batman XB, which would be Firefly.
Hydro Man.
Dude, Hydro Man is the best villain. Talk about motivations. What's scarier than a stalker who can be anywhere where water is? He's got to be one of the most terrifying villains Spider-Man has ever fought. And they had to replace Sandman in the Frightful Four because Sandman was apparently an unusable property. But the point is, Hydro Man is actually a fantastic villain. I haven't brought him up very much, but he is a terrifying stalker who can be anywhere where water is.
Okay, now to be serious, now that we've got the bullshit out of the way.
Why so serious? Clearly, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
That's a fair point. Why are you so serious?
I'm serious because this is a serious topic. Batman villains are kind of one note in that they all kind of want destruction. Joker is an anarchist these days. That's what it boils down to.
Sure.
Joker is a guy who just wants to destroy the world. He's mad at the world, but
However, he did not start off that way.
no.
I feel as Batman has evolved throughout the centuries, his villains have evolved with him to be a more opposite end of the coin of what he stands for and what he represents for society. I don't think you've seen as much depth with the Spider-Man villains as much as you've seen with the Batman villains. I do think that there are interesting dynamics with people like Penguin, who's really just an arms dealer who's really out for himself, doesn't really necessarily care about any others. Mr. Freeze was literally just trying to find a cure for his wife and didn't care who he hurt in the process. So much so that there were even times where he could have killed Batman and he was like, "You're just not worth it." And then just kind of walked off and left. Like, there's nothing scarier than a guy that can just absolutely wreck your day, but then just like, whatever.
I like that compared to the Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze probably could kill Batman whenever he wanted. He's that smart. He's that good. But I'll tell you this. One of Spider-Man's villains, Kraven the Hunter.
Good villain.
In Kraven's Last Hunt, all he wanted to prove was that he could beat Spider-Man.
That's true.
And he did. It wasn't even to kill him. He's like, I could put you in the grave if I wanted. He proved it. And ultimately, for Kraven, he had won. He defeated Spider-Man. He proved it. It wasn't even about killing him. It was just like, I could kill you. I have effectively killed you.
That's very true. That's very true. And that was a great story. That was a great run, by the way. I also feel like the Batman villains more so play off of the fact that Batman doesn't have superpowers. They're more based on psychological warfare, on mastering tech, on basically what Batman does, whereas Spider-Man villains have some kind of enhancement, have some kind of power, like Kraven, who is superpowered, like Sandman. Doc Ock's really the only one that really, truly isn't superpowered, per se.
There's one more of Spider-Man's villains who has no superpowers and proves to be a fantastic villain, and that is Mysterio. Mysterio,
Very underrated villain.
very underrated villain. Mysterio, and I've mentioned this before in the video, I'm just going to bring it up again, but Mysterio, with no powers and no skills, just with his mastery of illusion, managed to defeat all of the X-Men.
We don't talk. That was one of the dumbest things from that story. Like, you have the two most powerful telepaths in the world, and neither of them could shut Wolverine basically off mentally before he murdered all of the X-Men. That was a big leap. Spoilers, by the way.
No, I know it's not spoilers now. It's like a 10-year-old story. But I mean, it's been that long ago. But my favorite part is this. When they try to explain how Mysterio could have pulled something off, Wolverine's, he's on the ground. He's just killed all of his X-Men. He's like, how did you fool my senses? I should have been able to smell heroes. I smelled villains. And Mysterio's like, does it matter how I did it? The point is that I did it all by myself. But something I forgot about yesterday, and I was reminded of today, Spider-Man's greatest villain was downstairs, and he stopped by and he said, I am Spider-Man's greatest villain. And it was J. Jonah Jameson. And that is a hard villain to beat.
That's true. There is no greater villain than the press these days, if we're being honest. So, you might have got me on this one. You might have got me. I think I got you last time.
You did.
With the Captain America and Hawkeye debate, but I think you got me this time. So, I guess we'll have round 3 at Fan Expo.
Yes.
I rarely leave an event like this disappointed. I am, after all, an unapologetic extrovert. I enjoy being part of the community of nerds, and I have to mention that again. The final score was 104 agree to 61 disagree, and I have to wonder, is there an intimidation factor in these polls? Do I skew the results by wearing the topic on my chest? Some people grabbed the pen ready to vote, but then decided it was too hard of a choice and didn't vote. I will admit, though, Batman villains are funnier. I can admit defeat in that one tiny category.
This is a serious topic. Batman villains
Disagree.